We're back with it's Eric Nagel.
All right, welcome back to the show. We've got our guest here coming up in there he is. He's in the room. And there he is, Gary from Nerdrotic. Gary, hello, sir. Pleasure to meet you finally. It's been a long time. I've been trying to chase you down, as it would. Glad to have
thanks
you on,
for having
sir.
me on, Eric. I'm a bit of a magpie sometimes. It's the YouTube lifestyle. Like every time you try to make a plan, something happens. You know, when you cover news of any kind,
right?
You're kind of tethered to that. So apologies it took so long, but here we are. We made it.
All good. All good. If you're not aware, let me throw the plug out right now so those watching, listening on iHeart, everywhere else knows. Nerdrotic, Nerdrotic on YouTube, on Instagram, but on Twitter, you got to throw an S and leave the last S on there for the savings. That's Nerdrotics on the Twitter there. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Check out all those things. Go to the YouTube. It's a fantastic YouTube channel. I will have to admit, there have been time to time that I've maybe siphoned some of the views off of your videos from you and your collective there, where I'm like, oh my God, I agree with this. This is what I was trying to figure out how to say, and they figured out a way to say it.
Well, that's okay. I think it's great. I think it's great that more people are just, it's not even becoming aware. It's sharing their opinions more and not being afraid to, because what began my channel, what got it going was just sharing a really basic opinion that was considered controversial at the time, which it isn't now. And it was back when Doctor Who, when they turned the Doctor into a woman. I'm just like, the Doctor's not a woman. The Doctor will never work as a woman. You can have a female time lady and stuff. And that was considered horrible to say. And like, wait a minute, like we've said stuff like this in fandom all the time. Like, when did it become not okay to say? So more people being aware of it is much better. Siphon all you want.
And you were 100%. I mean, let's talk with Doctor Who, because I was leading a charge on our end about the Doctor crying, which I'll get into in a moment. And then all of a sudden, after like the specials were coming out and the first season, the first episode of the season started, the hashtag RIP Doctor Who started blowing up everywhere. And I went, oh, there's other people who think this way, because if I'm looking at Instagram and other shit, it's like they all seem to like where this is going. And I trace it back, and it's to you guys. It was you guys that were amplifying this thing everywhere. And I went, these are my people. I got it now.
Yeah, that was strange times. And the origins of that were, I mean, we considered it when it officially died. And for people who don't watch Doctor Who, it's a cultural phenomenon, and it's part of the UK's identity. It's a show that's been around for 60 years in 2 different iterations, and it's really part of British culture. And it was basically taken over and vandalized and completely destroyed because it featured too many white men. And they came out and said it, and they wanted to use it for propaganda. They said, we want to use it to create conversations. So they basically made the Doctor a woman, and then to cement her status, because, you know, as a Doctor Who fan, you can go, well, I just don't like this Doctor, I'll skip it. They changed the entire origin of the 60-year-old show to make the first Doctor, not the late, great William Hartnell, turn him into a little black girl. So, and with no effort at all, like there's no effort or anything in this, and they just did it to do that. And it was a political decision. It wasn't a creative decision. So at that point it died. And the reason sorry to go on long on this, but the reason we picked RIP Doctor Who was there's a firm out there called Parrot Analytics. And what they were doing, they're kind of done now, but at the time people were using them, media outlets were using them as actual ratings for streaming shows, because we don't know the ratings for streaming shows. Only the streamers don't share them. And when they do, it's questionable. So this was an algorithm basically using conversation. So anytime somebody would talk about Doctor Who, negative or positive, they would consider that a positive view and add that to the rating. So we tried to circumvent that by saying RIP Doctor Who. Long story, but that's where it came from.
No, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant way to do it, because like you said, they can't check. It's almost, when we were at Satellite, they kept telling us, we can't tell you how many people in the cars are listening to you. At that point, they did not have the technology. They still don't have the technology to tell. But on the streaming, that's hard numbers. That's hard facts. but they're private companies. So if they're not on a broadcast medium, the government can't step in. It doesn't have to be regulated. It doesn't have to be monitored, so that everyone can get away with that. And that's a great way to circumnavigate the algorithm and still getting your point across when they're taking, hey, any what was it? It's like bad publicity is still good publicity. All of that. They just take all those numbers, be it good or bad, and say, oh, this counts towards us. And you go, whoa, not so fast.
Yeah. And that's not true anymore. The any publicity is good publicity might have been true in the past.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And that was their thought back then. But now that a few years have passed, they're finding out that's not necessarily the case. And we can point out Acolyte, most recently Ironheart. And now that the culture has definitely shifted and the public's willingness to put up with this crap is at zero now. And we're still getting holdovers. I mean, many will say that like woke is dead, and it's not really, it's dead. It's dead in the sense that people aren't willing to put up with it anymore, but It's not dead in the sense that Hollywood and
it's not going to stop practicing.
They're going to still produce it all the time.
I go back. It's so weird to say a couple of years ago being a long time ago, but you're going back a couple of years ago. I really started resonating me with the National Treasure TV show when that came out. And I was like, I enjoyed those movies. They're fun. And, let's see, maybe Nicolas Cage will make a cameo in here. It seemed like it was going to happen. And then you're watching this whole thing and I go, wait, there's a hidden bunker under Elvis's mansion. Wait, this girl is now accusing everybody of racism if as a distraction so that they can go and steal stuff or whatever. It's like,
she's an illegal immigrant who wants to return stuff back to its homeland, and it's just like, what are you talking about? And
it tanked. And then they're like, well, we don't understand. This was a big put. Yeah, well, you know, but you're not going to admit it. Back with the Doctor, like you're saying, during the female Doctor era, the stories were just all over the place. Obviously, the one episode was about Trump that they had to throw that in there because that needs to be mentioned in a sci-fi show. But then ignoring the history of the show, not bringing in any monsters of the past, enemies of the past that everybody looks forward to. What are the Daleks going to do in this season or with this Doctor? So they ignored all that. Then that comes to an end. They announce Russell T Davies is coming in, kind of hoping like, all right, maybe we're going to go back to where we were. And he goes a 180 to a 3 off kilter thing from that too, and you go, what's going on? Wait, Rose is coming back? Who's Rose? And then you see that. What are we doing here? This isn't even about the show, and he's getting browbeat in his own show. Like the women, we just let the energy go. We let the regeneration stuff go. If you were still a male presenting doctor, you're a male presenting doctor. You don't understand this, but with women, we just let it go. It's like women don't let anything go. They never let that go. That easy where it's just like, all right, it's going to be done. And then it goes on further and you're just like, they don't even care about the show anymore. They don't care about the history. They don't care about this. Oh, they brought the fugitive doctor. That's not a real doctor and doesn't fit in the timeline anywhere. And
no, she's like the second and she's in between the second and third doctor. And it's a black doctor. It's a black female doctor who also is a lesbian, it turns out. And it turns out that Jodie Whittaker was a lesbian, and then Ncuti Gatwa's doctor was gay too. And then when they brought David Tennant back, they made him gay. So the last 4 doctors have been gay. When Russell T Davies came back, we thought it was tantamount to George Lucas coming back in a way, in a much lesser way. But we're like, okay, David Tennant's coming back for a special. Russell T Davies is coming back. A lot of the original producers, the original composer, Murray Gold, were like, all right, let's go. And it turns out he came back to do the same thing that they were doing before, which was to send a message, to preach the message. He had a lot more things to say that he couldn't say before. So he decided to use this and get Disney to give him some money to make it a commentary on the fandom. The last 2 seasons were direct responses to the fandom, to the point where R.I.P. Doctor Who was made canon in Doctor Who. They actually made it canon in an episode, trying to take a shot at those of us who are critical, which is the majority of the Doctor Who fandom. And this adversarial thing that we've seen from creators and even studios towards fans, their potential paying customers, is not just Doctor Who. They were pretty bad about it, but it's gone across all of fandom, and now they're seeing the consequences of that, which we were trying to warn them. I mean, it was like, we like this stuff. We don't like what you're doing, but we like this stuff. We'd like to continue liking it, but we're not going to just sit back and not call it out for what's obvious propaganda.
Right.
And when they're coming out and saying it, I mean, I believe them.
Well, but it's what you guys do and other sites and stuff that do similar to what you guys do with reviews, with the approach to the culture, and even offering advice. It's like, look, you're wondering why this isn't working. This is your third flop. Here's what you could do better. Like, you guys do offer advice in some of your commentary and stuff. It's like, if this was you, you're just saying from the broad collective, if you will, of people out there that are not happy with the way a lot of entertainment is going. You guys offer advice. They never listen, but you put it out there and go, here's a way that you could probably fix it. Here's a way you could bring the audiences back. Here's a way you could, like Disney right now, it's like, here's the way you can get young men back there if you stop doing this and maybe start including them in this. It always falls on deaf ears, but it's good that it's out there. And it sounds like this is just nonsense that we're talking about, but it goes back to like V for Vendetta, where you've got a revolution going on there trying to show, but it's for comic books, it's for movies, it's for online streaming services, and you go, why are we taking this vast radical political approach just for entertainment? Like, entertainment should not have gotten this bad.
No, I mean, in independent films, there's always been political independent films, and you could certainly do that on your own. And if it sold, they would have made original content, original woke content or intersectional content, but it doesn't sell. That's why it always latches itself to a much bigger IP, to something that's already successful. And they decide to use that as an opportunity to teach you, not to tell you what to think, to show you how. And that's a line from Serenity. That's their approach. We're going to teach these young men how to respect women by emasculating all their characters and gender swapping them. And as you said, people ask, like, what? This is just silly stuff. No, right. This it's not. It's not. And that's something the right, some in the right finally recognized, and maybe that's why they won a cultural election last year. What they do with it from there, I don't know. But that's how they won, is some recognized that, gamers are important, and they think games are important. People who love Hollywood, this stuff is important. Pop culture is American culture, and it is indicative on how healthy our culture is. And right now you can literally see the rot in our culture through our entertainment.
I want to get back into that a little bit more, but first I want to talk about the fact that for those who don't know Gary has a great story that he owned a specialty book, comic book shop, whatever you want to call it, graphic, all of that stuff there in the San Francisco Bay Area, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And you had that
10 years.
For what, like 10 years?
Yep.
You could see where you are now, your vast knowledge and your understanding and appreciation of geek culture, films, video games, etc. During that time, when you're running the store, are you still like, is this where you're developing where you are now for Nerdrotic? Like, is the seedling being planted there that, like, if I had the opportunity, I would start my own thing to go out there and be a critic, a responsible critic or recognized critic for all of these things here while doing it at the comic book shop? Because I've known a couple people who've owned shops, and a lot of the discussion you guys have are the discussions people have when they're hanging around comic book shops, and when they're talking about, oh, you don't read that new issue, it's terrible, but go and pick up that thing there. Oh, really? Why? And then you're having conversations. You're showing the people the way of, like, maybe you would like this if you don't like that, or if that's not really where that story's going, you should go and find these things here. That comic book mentality there, is that where the Nerdrotic idea came from? Absolutely.
So lifelong nerd, always been in comic shops and it spent my time in them even before I owned one. And then when I got to own my own for 10 years, the best part of it was just sitting around and, shooting the shit with everybody about this stuff. And you're absolutely right. The stuff we talk about on our live streams, or I get into in my videos, is the same conversation I would have with somebody at the store. And somebody described it to me. I didn't come up with this, but the job of a bookstore owner or a comic store is just matching the person with their story. Right. So, and yeah, there was a lot of, I bought a book, put it on the shelf, but then somebody'd ask me and I go, it sucks. don't buy it. It's like,
it's almost like
you have to do that.
It's almost like it was the modern day bartender, like what bartenders used to be, where people would come in and drink their sorrows, tell their stories, just have somebody to, an ear to bend in order to get through the day even, or find like-minded people that were going through similar experiences or interests or what have you, where you have people coming in and you start talking. It's like, you might like this a little better. And that brings up the conversation. And that also brings the business back, because it shows that you care, shows that you have some interest. Obviously you're there to sell books, but also to have repeat customers, have people coming back in for everything, and to listen and to share what you know with other people. And that's how it spreads.
Yeah. Cause, cycling through your comic shop are some loyal guys and gals, it's like 200 or 300 people. And then like you get the people on the weekend who come in once in a while, but I developed a relationship with them, and I wasn't going to lie to any of them. And I always kept in my head, and I told my employees that like they're spending their hard-earned money here. They're choosing to deal with San Francisco parking and pay for parking and or get on the K line and take the train, from across Oakland or something to my shop. That's a privilege, even if they walk in the door and don't buy anything. Right. So you treat them with respect. They made the effort, and they deserve the truth all the time. They need to be treated like kings. And I made a lot of great relationships. And that was the one thing I missed, when I eventually had to sell it, was having those conversations every day. There's a lot of headaches, like Diamond, which is gone now, but it was a brilliant job. And, I started the podcast without expecting it to go anywhere or be listened to anybody. It was just to like, at least I could still have a conversation with a friend or two about like just nerd stuff, the stuff I love.
You had to sell the shop, and in today's day and age, not many comic book shops are left like they used to be. It's a very difficult business, and with a lot of the stuff going to digital now through apps, you can buy the stuff there. Do you think that whole communal aspect of comic books would still be around in the digital age, or still progress in the digital age? Or do you need the actual brick and mortar store to go in there and have that camaraderie with like-minded people? It'll always be around in some form, but it'll never be what it was. And we're losing the communal experience in comic shops. GameStop, is gone. You go into even back to Blockbuster. We're losing, and then the theaters. I think there'll always be a place for comic books, but they're just going to have to weather the storm of the digital age, which does make them kind of disposable. And the only option they have left is to tell better stories, and AI is going to change everything. So I don't know where it goes there. I never was worried that digital would bring, like, for example, a lot of comic shop owners did this to themselves, by the way. Mm-hmm. So there a lot of them, not everyone, a lot of them fought, putting comics back into 7-Elevens and the grocery stores where everybody could get them. It just became a specialty thing. So it was propped up and shrunk. And that doesn't really grow your industry. And so there was going to be attrition there anyway. But then they started the digital age, and people could pirate, but I was never worried about that. I was like, if people pirate comic books, maybe it's mostly going to be people who wouldn't have bought them anyway or don't have access to them. And you know what? That could create future customers if the stories are good, and they'll bring people into the comic store. I just think publishing is dying, for one. But what didn't help, Eric, is that they did the same thing Hollywood's doing to movies, right? They went incredibly woke. They went incredibly political, and this all happened around the same amount at the same time it happened to publishing, same time it happened to gaming, same time it happened to comic books, same time it started creeping into TV shows and films. That's not an accident. That's just not an accident. And maybe they thought that that's where the trends were going, but pretty quickly you could figure out that when you, in the comic books, this might sound familiar to Marvel fans, they gender and race swapped everybody, made a bunch of people gay for no reason, like Iceman. And they really also had short runs. Like when they did all of this stuff, they did not last as long as a traditional run with a new story.
No, and these runs were bringing in new people, and the lore on this is long, but there was a poll out there that somebody ran as some scientific poll, which it wasn't. It was basically are you interested in comics? That's the question it asked. And half the responses were women. They're like, we need to make overnight. They're like, we need to bring more women in. We need more women in comic books. It's a male hobby that women liked. And I would say the percentages vary from 5 to 10%. Even if you tried, right? And it's not like they weren't welcome, but the women who liked the stuff the way it was. Well, they started bringing in people who were just outsiders, who were tourists and wanting to make everything a lifestyle brand. And that's what happened. And, we could go into the history of, well, they were making comics for the trade. That didn't help either, which devalued the pamphlet. And the most important thing was, though, they started losing talent and they brought in a bunch of, people who weren't talented, who were just woke and political, who got into fights on Twitter with the customers and drove the customers away. And the comic shops got caught in the middle. I mean, a lot of them participated in it too, and you get what you deserve on that. But a lot of them were caught in the middle and then, COVID happened and they did nothing. And it basically broke the comic book industry.
The movie industry sort of adopted that same mentality too, where if the movie wasn't trending well, even before it came out, it's obviously, a certain demographic's fault or a certain gender's fault or what have you. And then the movie comes out and it fails. Well, it's because men didn't show up to support this and it's their fault too. I remember after, Ocean's 8 came out, and the girl from The Office, I can't remember her name, but Mindy Kaling, I think that was her name.
Maybe.
And they were all saying it's like, oh, because, men didn't show up for this. That's why it's men's fault. They purposely didn't go so that the movie would bomb. It's like, or maybe they had no interest in it. It didn't have Brad Pitt. It didn't have George Clooney in it. So they didn't have an interest in going. That just because they had no interest in it doesn't mean it's their fault for not going for this. Elizabeth Banks had said that about a couple of her projects. Even
Charlie's
recently,
Angels. Yeah.
Even recently, the purple carpet for Agatha All Along, the beloved Broadway actress that's on there. I'm forgetting her name, but they were talking to her and then it's like, so, did you know about Marvel before coming in? No, I didn't. I had no idea about it. And that's fine. You always hear the stories. I didn't know much about it. They wanted me to come in. They gave me a bunch of stuff to read and to watch. And then I learned, like, they all say that thing. So whether it's true or not, at least that's the right thing to say. They said, did you even read up on or know anything about? No, I had no idea for that. And then they asked her, well, after this is going, if they go to do more or anything, you're going to take an interest in Marvel? No, I have no interest in following up or seeing whatever. It's like, even though you're on the press line, you're still under contract with that company to promote. That's part of the job. You did the acting part. The other part is the promotion. You can't go out there and say, I have no interest in the property, no interest in, make it up so it looks good.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this and go, they don't even do their job anymore. She wouldn't even lie the right way to say, oh yeah, look, I'm looking forward to whatever the next thing is, or hopefully we get a season 2, something, nothing. She had no interest. She said, I don't care. I have no interest in following up on this. I'll give her this. First time I've seen that, it was a bit refreshing to see, but also it's like, that is terrible business on Disney's part and her part to do that. And then she got blacklisted or something from Hollywood because she said something shitty about another Broadway performer, and she had to apologize for the first time in her career, and they banned her from the Tonys too. So it's like, well,
wow.
Reap what you sow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you for your honesty, but that's the culture they have cultivated there. And now that they're suffering this horrible summer, that's down.
Hattie LaPone. Sorry, that was her
Hattie
name.
LaPone.
Hattie
LaPone. Not surprised. So now they're suffering the repercussions. We were talking about this for years. Sarcastically, but giving them unsolicited advice on what you said, what the general fans feel about, like, what the problem is, how it's easily fixed. Instead, they doubled and tripled down. And even if they want to change now, and they being Hollywood, the BBC, anything we're watching streaming, it's going to take a couple, 3 years. And by that time, everybody's just going to be tired of it. It was survive until 25. They had COVID, they had the strikes. Marvel and, Lucasfilm have had their problems. Warner Brothers is the one that's like trying to fix things. I don't know how well they're doing it. But
with
not
that guy from Discovery running everything, almost every decision he makes involving Warner Brothers has been a disaster. Almost everything. It's like, oh, we're just going to silently put out the Looney Tunes movie. No one's going to care about it. We're not going to promote it. Oh, we're also going to pull the entire catalog off our streaming thing. What happens? The movie goes into the movie theater, no promotion. It's all word of mouth. People were going, wait a minute, this movie was actually good. Comes out of the theater, does pretty well, put it on their streaming service, and it blows up again. And they're like, well, where's the rest of the catalog? Oh, we took it off. It's why? You should be it was the old Hollywood thinking. We have a property that's familiar, that's going out. Let's dump the entire catalog available somewhere so they can all rent it, watch it, whatever, to lead up to that thing. They did the exact opposite. They pulled everything related to Looney Tunes off of their service, snuck that movie out there. And then what happened over the summer? The big announcement. Oh, the what was it? Coyote
versus Acme.
Acme is now finally coming out. Yeah, because the other movie you didn't give a shit about did so well. They're like, all right, we should put this out. Again, still haven't put out the Looney Tunes catalog. The Warner Brothers catalog is not there. You'd think they would, but
that's insane. I mean, that's where Warner Brothers like is dumb. And it was Zaslav, like he canceled Batgirl, and that was funny, and like it, but I point out like what he's done lately, and he's tried to go back to some like successful franchises, right? And then one of the first things they put out is as a Lord of the Rings fan, we already suffered through Rings of Power. Then he does this anime like War of the Rohirrim, right?
Never watched
Which is
it. Yeah.
Okay. Don't watch it. It's the history of it's basically it's the history of Helm Hammerhand, and what they did was made it about his daughter. So the Hornburg, the Battle of Helm's Deep, like what was the whole legend behind that. They decided to make it an unnamed daughter from the appendices and make it about her and not Helm Hammerhand, which is what every Lord of the Rings fan would want to see. So that's Zaslav. Black Snape casting is Zaslav. That's some of the worst casting. Everything about that show looks great except for the casting. It's like, why would you do that? And we know why they did it. It wasn't his ability. Unless they put him in whiteface and make him look like Snape, and he's just some great actor.
Imagine that.
That would be great, to be honest with you. That'd be funny as hell. But
you could put him on the posters in China then.
Yeah, I mean, you could, you could. But Warner Brothers has just been dumb. Like they managed to get people back to and Warner Brothers owns HBO, so they called HBO Max, and the reason they changed the name from HBO to Max was because they were going to put kid friendly stuff on. Well, bro, I hate to remind you that Cinemax was called Skinemax back in the day.
Their least all the popular porn channel you branded it after. And also, if that was the thinking, HBO, I mean, I think we're in the same generation, was notorious. Yes, they had the movies, but for having kids programming. In the 80s, they had Jim Henson, they had Fraggle Rock, they had all his offshoots from the Jim Henson Creature Shop. They had other unique properties through there. They had Sesame Street for the last, 5-6 years? All stuff. They were almost not synonymous, but they were very inclusive to family properties. And now we're like, well, it's a family brand. Well, what happened? What happened with HBO Max?
They had to change it back to HBO, the 50-year-old brand that everybody recognizes, and they did HBO Max. They'll drop the Max eventually.
Yeah,
but they did that within the course of 2 years. Let's also remember Warner Brothers has split, I think, at least 3 times in the last 6 years because they're massively in debt, like horribly in debt. So the latest split is Discovery's now. It's no longer Warner Brothers Discovery. It's just Warner Brothers, and then there's Discovery. So they're doing that. They brought back, House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, ended horribly, and House of the Dragon managed to get people back, but then they screwed over the second season by cutting off the last 2 episodes for budgetary or whatever strike reasons. They could have finished it. And
they did the Poochie ending. He died on his way back to his home planet.
Yeah. Like they it's a 10-episode series that was written as a 10-episode series that you only got 8 episodes on. So it leads up to nothing. And that was under his watch. Yes, there's other CEOs, but it's under his watch. He could override any of these people. And then, there's James Gunn's Superman, which some people liked a lot. I did not. I think it's his worst movie. I've liked a lot of his past work, but I think it's his worst movie. I think it's incoherent what he's trying to do, especially with Peacemaker right now. And Peacemaker season 2 is pretty bad. And I mean, it's even worse that today he called Peacemaker 2 a prequel to the Superman sequel. The problem is Peacemaker season 2 is TVMA. It's like, it's a hard rated R. It was
a hard MA those first 2 episodes. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, sorry, but there's a bisexual orgy in the first one. And this is like, he was saying, everybody who watched Superman needs to watch this because it sets up the rest of the DCU. I mean, except for everybody under 17.
Yeah. The bag of Coke in the cupboard there that said for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Like his rainy day fund was just his, get high and get he had the exact opposite of what would happen to somebody on Coke, that he got that and then got depressed and really insightful and self-loathing. It's like, that's not the drug for that.
No.
He even got the drug wrong for the
I know
you were trying to do.
He would have been participating in that in that orgy.
Real quick, does it not bug you the fact that he has that gateway door, right? That it was his dad's, to that little pocket universe thing. But there's all these other doors, like they live in a condo community, right? Yeah. And nobody's bothered to come around and fuck with the helmets that are outside of his door or what's outside the other guy's door. It's so close to each other. You would walk around just to snoop a little bit to see what your neighbors are doing.
And if you rip some stuff off, nobody would. Like, they're very kind people from other universes. Yeah. And introducing a multiverse. But I mean, the whole point is like, while Warner Brothers is dumb.
Yeah.
And they continue to be dumb. Disney's evil. Disney's an evil company that interferes with politics of a state, that thanks concentration camps in China, that shrinks black characters on their poster for China in the past, but they want to preach to everybody. And everything they do is they haven't innovated anything. So what Bob Iger has been known as this amazing CEO, all he's done is bought shit and driven it into the ground. And now sports fans are going to find that out. What did we learn yesterday or today? That Red Zone's going to have commercials. I mean, that's such a Disney move.
Well, they lost UFC for the pay-per-views. That's going to Peacock, and they're taking WWE from Peacock to put them on the ESPN platform for. This is a WWE issue, but their parent company TKO is making it. They're making all these grandiose changes. They're promoting them out better than McMahon did outside of the US. There's pay-per-views in other countries now, and it looks good. But you make it so difficult for the people in the United States, kids, people with families and stuff, to watch this stuff because, well, this show's on this network and this show's only on this streaming platform. This show is only on that network. Oh, where's the pay-per-view? Well, it used to be bundled with this network, but now you have to pay another $30 a month to watch that pay-per-view, which is only one, maybe two a month, depending on which brand is doing what. That you're paying $30 extra to watch. It's like you're getting penalized for being in the United States for watching and supporting the property that you love. But meanwhile, everywhere else, you just subscribe to the WWE network, you get the entire thing. But here, it's all fractioned and whatever. So, and that was a Disney move. So they're going to learn that too.
Yep, it's not going to grow your audience. It's going to shrink it like it did. What was the WWF at the time smartest move? Well, putting it on MTV.
Mm-hmm.
Putting it on MTV back when I was a teenager.
They used to do their Super Bowl counter programming. They would have a match going on MTV while the Super Bowl halftime show was on. It's like, you don't want to watch Bruce Springsteen? Come over here and watch Mankind and The Undertaker kick the shit out of each other in an empty arena. Like, you're seeing a place that holds 30,000 people. There's not a person there, and these two are just going at it. And you're like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, they used to be smart, but now it's just all behind paywall. But that's Disney ruining stuff. That's exactly what Disney did to Star Wars. That's what they're doing to Marvel. These are zombie franchises now, and we're seeing the result. You know, we were warning about this for years, and the last July was a complete dud, and that was supposed to be their big month.
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four. It's the highest grossing flop. Marvel flop of the year, but it's still a flop. It cost well over $200 million to make. It's barely gonna, get past It made it past 500 million, but that's not. It needed to make 600 million to break even. Superman might have broken even, but it hasn't make it. And this is Warner Brothers. That It's not even going to surpass Man of Steel without adjusting for inflation. And the seventh dinosaur movie beat them both, and actually F1, which was good. I know nothing about the sport. That's why I liked it. F1 beat out Superman in a dud year. And the whole year was bad. The only really good movies I've seen this year, that I could say are 8 out of 10.
I was going to ask you about it. What did you actually enjoy?
F1 and Weapons. Weapons was amazing.
I haven't seen Weapons yet, but my co-host has. He went the night it opened and he loved it. He raved about it.
Absolutely great movie. It's a fun movie. It's a fun horror movie. It will also creep you out, but there's enough. I don't know if I want to call it levity, but there's enough to where you enjoy. Right? It's what it is. It reminded me of one of those horror anthology shows from the 80s and 90s, like
Tales from the Crypt or something.
Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side. Friday the 13th, one of those episodes made into a really good movie. And wow. I loved it.
Yeah, it's been a weird year, definitely a case study year for film. Yeah. You've had bad received and bad reviews movies that flopped. You had movies that were received very well, good reviews that flopped. You had meh movies that were sequels that made billions of dollars. With Lilo and Stitch and the Jurassic Park 19 or whatever this one was.
Yeah.
That did fantastic and it was out grossing and kicking the ass. I mean, people have been begging for Fantastic Four to join the MCU for over a decade. Mm-hmm. And this is what we got, and that's what they got in return as far as box office goes. There doesn't seem to be anything really appealing towards the end of this year that's going to make a lot of money for any of these studios going forward. I've been joking. I go, do you know how perfect a year this would be? The Gabby's Dollhouse movie is coming out in 2 weeks. And if that thing blew past all these other the Gabby's Dollhouse movie made $1 billion, but Superman and Fantastic Four couldn't. It seems to be the way the rest of this year is going. I don't see anything else that's going to really help out these studios going to the end of the year here. What do they do next year to fix any of this if it can be done at all?
Well, they again, their mantra was survive until 25. So we're seeing a lot of stuff that was pushed out that was supposed to come out last year. And this is a result of the 2 strikes that were just stupid, absolutely stupid. They got nothing out of it. There's fewer writers now working in Hollywood than there were before. They walked right into the producer's trap to help contract a little bit because the producers during the streaming age overspent on creative talent, made too much stuff, and they know they needed to come back on that. And the unions did them a favor. Both the Screen Actors Guild, I call it the Film Actors Guild, and the Writers Guild of America walked into that trap, shut down their industry right when it was coming back. So that the year of 2023 was the first year they had pretty close to a full set of releases since COVID, and they shut down again. So now we're kind of left with these big spaces of nothing. When you remember back in 2019, there'd be a movie that you'd be kind of interested in or somewhat every 3 weeks. It's not like when we were younger in the 80s when there was something interesting every weekend and there was fewer movies. Crazy how that worked.
You'd look in the newspaper for the times they were playing. You'd have your parents drop you off at the movie theater and you'd hang out there for hours. You'd pay for one movie, but you try to sneak into others, hang out with your friends. There's
Go to the arcade.
They definitely, because of the pandemic and maybe also because of the strikes included, they killed the casual movie-going mentality, that routine that was ingrained in us forever. The movies are over 100 years old. It's been there forever. The casual movie-going experience, I don't know what to do. I'll just go see a movie, or it's something to do, something to relax and take your mind off of things. They broke that pattern in the human condition. That's not there anymore. You look at a movie and you really have to weigh, do I want to pay $20 to go see this movie just to do something on a Saturday afternoon? Nah, I really don't. I'll go do something else. And on a recent video, you guys pointed this out, and I hadn't thought about it until you said this. You were talking about it's they're with that article about Disney. How do they bring young men back? How do they get this audience? And other studios going, well, what do we need to do? How do we bring the audience back? And you go, you can't. The audience is gone. It's not like they shifted to they're only watching Paramount movies or they're watching Magnolia films or something, right? They went to another studio's properties. They left. they're not coming back. That casual movie mentality is gone. People may go just because they have kids and they'll just bring them to whatever is out there right now. But as an adult, I really sit there and think, I'm like, is this worth my time now to go see? I want to see it, but is it worth me paying that much money in concession in the ticket to buy my ticket for the theater? Or is it worth waiting for it's on video demand or a streaming service and watch it there? They lost that audience of, I'll just go to the movies. That's not there anymore.
No, we used to, like you said, back in the day, we used to go to the theater and just pick a movie when we were there. You know, maybe look at the paper, but like just pick a movie when we were there. What the biggest mistake they made was, again, shutting down their industry being shut down twice in 5 years, and then not releasing anything, and then being really bad at what you're doing. Like writing, like the content has been bad, and it's bad because they see it as content, and they were using it to spread the message, and that poisoned everything. And what they lost was, just by shutting stuff down, was the habitual moviegoer, like you said. But they also lost a generation, because we're now 6 years into this. So we're 6 years. 2019 was their really good last.
And they still say in certain aspects, and not just entertainment, but politics and anything else, they say, well, you know, we're still recovering from the pandemic.
Yeah. Pandemic
has been long gone. Like how much more time do you need to recover from the pandemic?
What they don't want to say is we're still recovering from the strike. They seem to leave that out. But what they're not going to recover from is directly demonizing half of the country. You know, half of your potential. You told them specifically you don't want them as an audience. We don't see you as human. You're just all some kinds of ists or phobes of some kind, and we're not going to make anything for you because we have no respect for you. And people listened. They went, okay. They basically said, fuck off. And people did. They go, yeah, okay, I will. I'll find something else to do. There's a lot of other things to do. And including on your streaming services, we can watch all the older stuff you did, Hollywood. That was much better. And that's easier than just going out to go see Been Caught Stealing, which you can just wait, which is out right now. And got beat by a 50-year-old movie. Jaws was number 2 at the box office.
It made like what, $10 million that weekend or something like that. And you know, when they say, you know, adjust for inflation, whatever, a 50-year-old movie came in because you had nothing else to put into theaters, and it was the anniversary, so they tied it in. A 50-year-old movie made $10 million that could have gone to new properties that were out there, and people went, you know what? I'd rather not see that. I'm going to go and watch Jaws. It's a fantastic movie, but I mean, it's like if they put Godfather in right now, probably would make, you know, probably would be number 1 in the box office against some property. Like, wait, The Godfather beat this in 2025? Yeah. They just had all 8 Harry Potter movies rotating in and out of the theater. I think they were doing like one a day in a lot of the theaters. They just announced Back to the Future has an anniversary coming up, so that's going to be, and I'm going to that. They AMC a couple weeks ago did Batman and Batman Returns back to back, and I bought a ticket to go to that. I go, I'm at the theater on a Friday watching 2 old Batman movies instead of anything current right now. Yeah, we got Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2.1 being shown for the first time in theaters at the end of this month. You brought up, and that's how theaters are going to have to survive. To go back to your question from earlier, there's Tron Ares is coming out. That's not going to make a ton of money. Wicked, they just moved Mortal Kombat 2 to next year. There's another one I can't think of, and then there's Avatar, right? But Avatar is like on the 18th, I believe. It's towards the end. It's in the last 2 weeks of December, which means for this year, for this final quarter. Yeah, I think it's like the 19th. They get about 12 days. They get about 12 days. Now, Avatar is going to make, the GDP of an average European country, I think. It's going to make a lot of money. I think the movies are terrible, but they're a cultural phenomenon in the sense that everybody goes and watches them and then completely forgets them by the time they get to their car. It's the pretty neon colors. Yes. But they got nothing. So theaters are going to have to do stuff like this. They just had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 35th anniversary. And I'll go to all this stuff. You know, they should just have the Lord of the Rings trilogy rotating all the time. People would go to that all the time. I would go to that all the time.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen it in theaters in the last couple of years just when it shows up. The Harry Potter thing was smart, but like, what are they going to do in the future? Right now, it just looks like more sequels and prequels and remakes of animated films into CGI films and all this talk of originality. Honestly, that's happening on streaming right now. Yeah. Streaming has better stuff than I'm looking forward to more. I'm looking forward to Tulsa King. These are just average shows too. These like, it's not like they're reinventing the wheel, but like Sylvester Stallone is great in Tulsa King. Billy Bob Thornton is great in Landman. Those are both Taylor Sheridan things. We have Stranger Things coming. Some people, I don't love Fallout, but Fallout was hugely popular. That's coming later. And the best thing I've seen this year was on streaming was Mobland. Was absolutely.
Oh yes, I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard
it is brilliant. It is utterly brilliant.
You didn't like the Ice Cube War of the Worlds movie?
I saw it 3 times. I plan to review it sometime. I think it's the Room of the 2020s. Yeah. So I think it's glorious in that sense. Yes.
I watched it, and then all of a sudden, I guess my algorithm was listening to me on my phone. I watched that movie, and then something else popped up with Ice Cube that I was not aware of. Ice Cube claims adjuster for Minecraft.
Yes, I saw that.
So I go, what is Ice Cube? Does Ice Cube need the money? I mean, if he's just doing it because he's bored and wants something to do, then I get it. Good for him. But does he need the money? Because he's doing all of this stuff that's not very gangsta Ice Cube that we all knew growing up and loved. But, to each his own. Yeah.
Ice Cube's a legend. Okay. It's just funny seeing him as a government. Well, I can't say government spook, should I? As a government agent, the guy who came out, I'll never forget because I was working at Licorice Pizza at the time when his album came out, America with the KKK. It's like that guy is like a government agent. I'm in on this. Let's go. It's funny. It's a really funny movie, and hopefully I can finish my review.
It's a funny movie and even better Amazon commercial. Do you know, I got to plead dumb.
Yes.
It took me a little bit before I realized that this was an Amazon, because it was on Prime, right? But that Amazon had invested heavily in their advertising for it. When they said, oh, the drone flipped over, give them $1,000 Amazon card. I went, what?
Yes.
And then I went, oh my God, I've been seeing them and hearing them talk about Amazon this whole time. I was oblivious to the fact until they offered that gift card. I'm like, oh, this is all Amazon.
Essentially, an Amazon drone and an Amazon driver help save the world, especially.
But it couldn't work unless you placed an order first in order for
Amazon.
him to use the drone.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, come on.
Now, never mind earlier in the movie, they mentioned that the entire financial structure of the planet had fallen. Money was gone. But apparently Amazon money still works. Thank God.
And that whole thing was in place now, not just to spy on people, but to see what was in their Amazon cart.
In their Amazon cart. My favorite part was when the Amazon driver used packing tape as a tourniquet for a wound.
I got this. And you're like,
I got this.
Okay, he just pulls
his packing tape. That was great.
Gary, you've been very generous with your time. We're going to wrap this up here because I know you've got other things to do. You probably have got like 8 other live streams you have to do tonight and tomorrow. Of course, Friday Night Tights is the big show on Friday night on the Nerdrotic channel. But before we do the rest of the plugs, I just want to point out something. This doesn't work for the radio audience, but for those watching on YouTube, Twitch, whatever, if you see in the background of Gary's room there, just like every other well-adjusted human being, we have a lot of collectibles and stuff proudly displayed. I have to ask you, I have a young kid. I know you have a kid. I'm not sure of the age or whatever, but let's just say back when your kid was younger, did you have a hard time trying to explain that these toys were not for them to play with?
We had a very serious conversation before the sex conversation, way before it. We had a conversation of what's the difference between a toy and a collectible.
Yes.
And we made that clear that a collectible might be out of the box. We had to get into the details. And he completely ignored it and would take, when he was younger, he would take Spider-Man off my wall or Doctor Who and just play with them. And I said, what the hell am I going to do?
I know.
When he messed with something big, it's like, no, son, you'll play with this instead.
I had to make bait. I have a box of stuff that I don't care what happens to it. And that box is there. So when the kid comes down and starts seeing the other things, I go, no, go. You can take something from the box. And now they're content with all the things in the box. So it's just nice to talk to another parent when you have this kind of collection with you. It's like, what do you do with the kids? Because it's not fair to explain to them that there's all these amazing toys that even you want to play with that you can't touch.
So yeah, and a lot of it was just like, oh, fine.
You give up. As long as they're happy, I'll figure out how to get another one. Let's get to the plugs here so everybody can see and review all of the great stuff that Gary and his cohorts are putting out. Nerdrotic on YouTube, Nerdrotic on YouTube, also on Instagram, but for X, the Twitter, you have to pluralize it. It's Nerdrotics.
Yes, right.
You can go there and find Gary. They do a lot of live streams. You've got the Nerdrotic Nooner. You've got the other spin-off thing, the Nerdrotic Daily channel too that you have, which is I think more of a clip channel, right?
It's a clip channel from I think it's 5 live streams a week. I lost count. Pretty much 5 a week. And my editor out there, we put up the clips. We got a live channel which I just throw up my archive live streams as well. Nerdrotic Live.
Gary, thank you very much for your time. I'd love to have you back on somewhere down the round there. If you're cool with it, come back and we'll just shoot the shit.
Hell yeah, this was fun. Thanks, Eric.
It's Eric Nagel. Follow the show on all social medias at It's Eric Nagel for ways to watch or listen to the show, both live and on demand. Go to itsericnagel.com.